everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be my earlier look and review of the first teaser trailer for the upcoming third season of House of the Dragon. Now there could be potential spoilers here for the previous two seasons within the series, and also other episodes within Game of Thrones, and also the recent series A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, so just beware when going into this overall video. Now, the third season of House of the Dragon is due for release on around June 2026, and it will bring the end to a 2-year absence from the previous season 2 that debuted back in 2024. And if we're just to recap quickly on the events from the finale of the second season, this is where we saw Alicent come to the realization that her son Aegon shouldn't have been set on the throne as the new ruler, when she came to realise the true meaning of the dream experienced by Viserys. We saw her meeting Rhaenyra once more, essentially offering to surrender the city of King's Landing by opening the gates in 3 days' time, and in exchange, Rhaenyra would spare her life and also those of the rest of her family. We saw Rhaenyra already setting intentions to take over fully the rule of Westeros. We had her assigning a whole group of new dragon riders and the dragons. We had that montage, of course, at the end of the finale where we saw all of the riders basically claiming their various dragons and getting ready for battle. And we also saw the various naval fleets getting together, preparing for the huge conflict that is to come within this season. We also saw Aegon fleeing King's Landing with Larys Strong, of course, still coming to terms with the horrific injuries that he suffered in the battle at Rooks, incurred by his brother Aemond, and he left the kingdom essentially before Aemond could claim his life and also the rule of the kingdom. Now, quickly reviewing this teaser trailer, which was only about 1 minute and 30 seconds long, and I think overall it looks fantastic, given that much more epic scope and scale in terms of a Game of Thrones story that I prefer, rather than the smaller, more character study that we have seen recently with A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I've commented previously both on this channel and also on social media how I find that show to be very uneventful, minus of course the most recent 5th entry of that series. And House of the Dragon, of course, we get far more in terms of the mythology and a whole multitude of characters and a sense of larger stakes and scale in terms of the opening conflict, of course, which is centering around the essential civil war between both houses Targaryen and houses Hightower. And this season trailer here looks fantastic. As I mentioned before, we're hopefully going to see a much more ramping up at the stakes that was sort of lacking throughout the season 2. We should be seeing a much more furthering of the escalation of the conflict. It seems initially that Rhaenyra is certainly going to be the dominant force, as we see Alicent really trying to surrender in order to save her family. And I think what was indicated in season 2 is how ineffectual or how unimportant it seems that Alicent is in terms of her side of the kingdom. Essentially, we have other individuals already making their plans and intentions to go their own way in terms of furthering the conflict. I mentioned Aemond, of course, who's going to be very central in this narrative. We had Sir Criston, of course, very much now asserting himself in terms of the army forces. And most notoriously, we had Daemon, who was very absent for the most part in terms of the events in season 2. Of course, he was trying to get a grip of all of the different visions that he was experiencing. And in that finale, or the penultimate episode, we saw where he had some future visions of what was going to happen to Daenerys, of course, in Game of Thrones. And we saw in that finale, he was collecting his own forces and armies to get ready for the upcoming battle. So there's so much going on here, so much more involving, and I think it looks great. Whilst I haven't read the books, I know from many fans' reactions and reviews that one of the biggest features of this season that we'll be covering is the Battle of the Gullets, I think, which is a massive naval battle that we'll be seeing, it seems very much so, in this season. We had those various scenes of the naval fleets and all of the dragons fire breathing amongst the sea battles, and this looks absolutely great and fantastic. And everything looks amazing. I've said multiple times, for all of Game of Thrones series in the franchise, you cannot deny the production values and also the visuals and effects. In House of the Dragons, we really have seen, I think, perhaps the best effects in terms of dragon warfare and effects probably ever in terms of movies and televisions overall. There really isn't any doubt as to how convincing they are on the screen. And it's also good that we had a short teaser trailer, not really showing us too much, which is exactly what a teaser trailer should do. And I think season 3 certainly looks like it will address a lot of the complaints that people had with season 2, primarily the fact that the narrative really stalled after the incredible first season, where we had all of these time jumps and the story itself was moving at such a electric and fast pace. Season 2 really kind of spun its wheels when we should have really seen a progression of the conflict. We were kind of at a standstill in terms of the conflict between Rhaenyra and Alicent. Well, I think we should have moved that on a bit more. And the finale didn't really have the weight and impacts that I think many people were hoping for. There have been many theories and reasons why. My speculation is that they didn't have the budget necessary and they were saving it more for season 3. I believe also this was around the writer strikes, or the writer strikes had concluded shortly afterwards in terms of the production for season 2. And that's why we had such a delay, and while essentially we've had A Night of Seven Kingdoms in its place, much more to fill the void in terms of the gap between House of Dragon season 2 and season 3. So all in all, it just looks very promising, very epic, and despite the fact the rave reviews for A Night of Seven Kingdoms, I think there's been a large amount of overrated and overhype surrounding that show, largely because we don't really have much else in terms of alternatives, in terms of television series. Where we are now in 2026, I believe the only other choice so far is Starfleet Academy. So anything else that has any type of quality is also going to be elevated and given far more praise than what is far more deserved. But House of the Dragon, I think, is going to be a big return back to what I think a Game of Thrones should be. Real epic, serious, full of momentum, full of purpose, and much more in terms of scale and scope and real substance and importance overall in terms of quality fantasy storytelling. So that's my overall thoughts and quick feelings on the recent teaser trailer for the 3rd season of House of the Dragon. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other further series, movies, or any other topics within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide more high quality content for you in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.